In this video, I'm going to do an analytical approach using SportsCode of Purdue's 2020 and 2021 season. Now, I've got a written version of this review that you can find on the blog. There'll be a link in the description where I go through box scores, shooting charts, player comparisons, a freshman analysis. I look at all their different players, their different lineups, what lineups performed better than others, looking at advanced metrics and everything. And I'm not going to go through everything in this video, just a couple of those points, but you can check that out on the blog in the description below. So the first thing I'm going to look at is the Williams versus Edey comparison. Now the entire season, this was kind of the narrative that I was following because I thought it was very interesting, mainly because Williams was getting a lot of the hype, at least in the media, and especially when it came to the minutes on the team. You can see that he played a lot more minutes, 369 on offense, 347 on defense, compared to Edey, which is in the low 200s. However, when you look at the advanced metrics, Edey actually ends up being the better player. So we're going to go through a bit of a story here. Now, per 40 minutes, you can see that Williams is a better player. He had better points per 40 minutes. He's the above row, by the way. Better rebounds per 40 minutes and much better assists per 40 minutes. But that's just coming down to the kind of play that they were involved in on offense, especially when these two different players are on the floor. So with Williams, he definitely was a more ball-dominant player. He instigated a lot of offense. He kind of slowed the ball down. He would start offense. He would command offense. Whereas Edey was a much different player. He was always finishing the offense. He would always collect the ball and lay it up. He would never dribble. He was never in the left or right block, dribbling it and trying to get a really strong post up or passing it. That just wasn't his game. He was almost exclusively a finisher of the play, whereas Williams was a starter of the play. Now you can see that more as well in the advanced stats. You can see their different usage rates, 34 to 27.6. You can also see it in the amount of points they scored for the team. So Williams scored 22% of the points for Purdue, whereas Edey only scored 12% of the points for Purdue. The story gets more interesting when you look at their advanced stats when it came to their on and off court minutes and how the team performed when they're on the floor. So their raw plus minus, we can see here that Edey had a better plus minus, 83 to 54. They're both very positive, but that's over an entire season. And you can see those numbers matched up here as well, when up here in these two charts. Now these two charts are basically saying how well the team performed when these two players on the floor. And this number beside the 54 for Williams is the the plus minus per 100 possessions. So this is the raw plus minus, the plus minus per 100 possessions. And we see that's a negative number. So per 100 possessions, Purdue was actually a negative team when Williams was on the floor. You compare that to Edey, and Purdue was actually a positive team per 100 possessions when Edey was on the floor, plus 1.8 points per 100 possessions. Now that difference comes in offense. So with Williams on the floor, Purdue scored 0.8 points per possession. When Edey was on the floor, they scored 0.83 points per possession. Defense, they're basically the same, 0.181 and 0.81. Points per 40 minutes, you can see that with Williams, they scored 67.1 points per 40 minutes. With Edey, it was 71.6. And on defense, it was very minimal difference, 64.1 and 63.7. So when Edey was on the floor, Purdue was a better team than when Williams was on the floor. Now, obviously, there's some caveats there. Williams played far more minutes, so the sample size is larger. He's also playing against opposition starters. Now, that's not always the case when you actually watch the film. He fouled out a lot or would get in foul trouble really early a lot, especially in the end of the season, and Edey would come in for him and play against opposition starters. However, in general, Williams was playing tougher competition than Edey. Now, their shot charts are very different as well. You can see here Williams has a very varied shot chart. He shot all over the place on the right elbow, left elbow, a lot of shots on the left and right block. He also shot 4 shots from the top of the perimeter. If you look at their shot types, you can also see that difference with all these different shot types: catch and shoot threes, off the dribble shots, putbacks, breakaways, floaters. Whereas Edey had a very limited shot menu. He's only got 1 off the dribble attempt, whereas most of his shots came from post-ups, where he shot 1.04 points per attempt, compared to Edey, which was 0.98. He also only really had putbacks, cuts, very limited shot types, and his shot location chart was also very limited. He only had 1 shot on the left block, 1 attempt on the right block, 1 attempt on the right elbow, and almost all of his shots came either in the paint or at the very, under the rim. 67% of his shots came under the rim. So it was very much just at the rim, waiting for the ball to come to him and finishing the play off. So it's a very interesting narrative between these two players. Williams was getting, all Big Ten nominations, one of the best players in the Big Ten, things like that. However, he was actually a negative player when you look at the advanced stats. The second output window I'm going to look at is the lineup analysis window. Now I'm only going to look at one lineup. I'm not even going to look at a full lineup, just 4 players. And it's essentially Purdue's freshmen. So when the 4 Purdue freshmen were on the court, I'm not including Morton, just because Morton didn't play enough minutes. So the main 4 players that played main minutes, which is Gillis, Newman, Ivey, and Edey. When these 4 players were on the court together, Purdue was plus 4 points per 100 possessions. When they weren't on the court together, Purdue was negative 0.2 points per 100 possessions. Now again, the sample size is limited. They only played about 43 minutes together compared to, the thousands of minutes they didn't play together. However, in that small sample size, they're obviously a positive team. That difference came on offense, where they scored 0.91 points per possession compared to other lineups without them, where they only scored 0.8. Then on defense, they weren't as good. Obviously, freshmen are known to be pretty average on defense, and that comes through on the advanced stats, where the opposition scored 0.87 points on defense with this lineup and only 0.81 points without this lineup. So it's very interesting just to compare these two, the with and without stats on offense and on defense with the freshmen, because obviously Purdue's going to be very bright in the future. I think all 4 of these players are coming back. So next year they probably will be favourites in the Big Ten, just because you're going to have a really strong lineup of Gillis, Newman, Ivey, and Edey always on the floor, plus whatever 5th player you can put there, and they're going to get plus 4 per 100 possessions. So very bright future for Purdue there. So that's all I'm going to go through in this particular Purdue season review. You can check out the other analysis in the blog if you want. And if you have any questions about the output windows I showed you, you can also see my email in the description below, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much, and thanks for watching.